Hello, everyone. I have the immense pleasure to sit once again with Ronald Chang. 6 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting him for the first time, and I was so blown away by what he shared about business and entrepreneurship and his experience building massive businesses around the world. So I just had to come back with more questions. Um, for you folks, Ronald, he started many businesses before, which was one of the biggest ones was co-founder of Foodpanda.
Correct. Yeah, that was back in 2012. I came to Taiwan, co-founded the Foodpanda business here, ran it as a CEO about 4 years. Left Taiwan, went to Southeast Asia, and became the COO of a online grocery delivery company called Happy Fresh, which is quite sizable today. Now I'm back here in Taiwan, and we're at our my newest business, which is called Odd One Out, which is basically a elevated bubble tea concept where we have one store here in Taipei in Dongchu, and already expanding in LA, where I've been there for the last couple of months.
Folks, you need to come out here. It's in the Zhongshan Dunhua area. It's fantastic. The drinks are really good. It's unique and it's premium. So definitely come and check it out. But the reason why I came back and asked Ronald if I can have a sit-down session with him is because the last time we chatted, he mentioned every time he talked about business and something, it was always about scale. Everything he talked about was large numbers, it was large amounts, large number of employees. Everything was in scale, and that's a huge problem amongst entrepreneurs. It's most people want to scale, but for some reason they just don't get their businesses to scale. So that's why I want to tap into your brain, your history, your experience, your knowledge of what does it take to scale a business. So first question, let's start from the foundation. What's your definition of scalability?
I think scalability is the ability to expand your business with minimal efforts required, right? It's looking to see any additional customers that you can go and reach out without the mass amounts of investments and resources required. Scalable businesses, as we all know, are like SaaS businesses, right? Yep. Don't have to hire anybody, yet they can conquer another market and get another million customers, right? While businesses in the brick and mortar, let's say like a bubble tea shop, might be a little more challenging to scale because there's all that investment and resources and infrastructure that you have to invest in, but still possible, right? So there's different types of businesses have different types of ways to scale.
Well, I mean, okay, so you see scale as in monetary scale, amount of employees, amount of branches?
Probably, I think, I would say users or customers is probably the best metric out there in terms of scale. What you want to see if you're massively scaling, you want to see multiple increases, right? You want to see 2x, 3x, 10x your business increasing either in revenues or sales or customers that you're gaining. So that's usually how I define scale. But, it could also be the number of locations, right?
Absolutely,
if you're expanding the number of locations where your customers aren't growing, then obviously you have a problem as well, right?
Yeah. Okay. What are the elements that makes up a scalable business?
Yeah, I think the world is a little different today, especially the last year, what's going on in the economy versus the last, 10, 12 years that we had in the whole tech ecosystem. So I would say that, and depending on the business, it's very different as well. When we did Foodpanda back in 2012, we were already set with massive amounts of funding. Taiwan was the fourth country to launch at that point in time. Had Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. Taiwan was number 5. And the business model was created to scale immediately. So within months, 5 countries were launched. And after about 2 years, I think about 43 countries were launched for Foodpanda in total. However, that's because we had almost back then unlimited resources. We raised multiple rounds of funding of hundreds of millions of dollars. And with funding, with cash, you can scale, at least in terms of geographic location, employee size. Now, that comes with its challenges as well, because the truth to be told, we scaled way too early. There were way too many countries launched, and the product market fit might have not been there for all countries. So from 43 countries, Foodpanda globally, quickly after, markets were shut down. And at one point, I think only 12 survived. And nowadays, I'm not exactly sure how many countries are there for Foodpanda. But that's also one of the downsides of scaling too quickly as well. Even though you have this unlimited pool of money, you might just be burning cash. You might realize that the product that you have might not fit that market. Now, it's very different now if you're looking at an F&B, right?
Okay.
If you're looking at a restaurant business, actually, I do think it's quite similar. Don't have multiple locations if your first location is not doing right. And I think that's extremely paramount for almost any company today where we're looking at unit economics, meaning don't scale too early. Again, if you are going to be scaling, make sure that the core business that you have, the product market fit that you have works operationally, you are sound, you are making money. Then you can move on to the next location or to the next country, and making sure that you have, the right market research.
Yep.
You have done, so you know that there's a closer product market fit, and then you continue and scale from that point on.
So what would the factors be that you would be looking at to decide when are you going to start scaling?
I think today, the factors are going to be, number one is your current business very healthy? If your current business is very, very healthy, and you have cash on hand, and you're ready to go into a new market, then go ahead, or into a new location, go ahead. But if the current business that you do have is running into problems, and you're going to be looking at having another location or another country, well, your problems are going to multiply. So you can't do the first one right. What makes the second one's going to do right. So make sure your systems are in place. Your operations are done well. You've done the market research, and yeah, I think a big one when it comes to scale is you have to look at the business model itself. For example, it might be hard to scale to hundreds of restaurants with like an Ethiopian restaurant here in Taipei. Very tough, but to scale to 100 restaurants with bubble tea might be a completely different story, right? Because there's a natural product market fit between bubble tea and Taiwanese consumers, right? So when I was looking to scale this business, this elevated bubble tea, we chose the U.S. Why did we choose the U.S.? Well, number one, it's a very big market, and we did do enough research to see that there are more and more people that are consuming bubble tea on a daily consumption basis. It's no longer a niche Asian product, the Asian American product, like it was maybe 10, 20 years ago. We are seeing all forms of people consuming bubble tea, which we believe that there's opportunity to scale that market.
So, sounds very interesting. So what would be the difference between a burger joint that remains a mom and pop shop for its lifespan and another burger joint that just goes and becomes a McDonald's?
I think ambition is a big one. There are a lot of restaurant owners that don't have that ambition to be the next McDonald's in the world, right? There's an amazing ice cream joint in Singapore. It's called Birds of Paradise. That massive lineups everywhere. Anytime you go, delicious product. And I know that store can be from, I think they have 2 or 3 locations today. Easily can be 20 plus locations in Singapore, and they can go into any country and they'll kill it as well. But I don't think that the owners have that mindset of, we want to be the next McDonald's in the world. I think they just love, the product that they're doing. They love customers that they have, and they want to slowly do it. And that's perfectly fine. They do well. They're making money. But then there's other people, that want to, they want to be a billionaire. And so sometimes it does take a mindset to do it. But then at the other time, other than the mindset, I think it all comes down to, is the core business, like your one shop, is it doing really well? If it's doing really well, then let's do the second shop. But if it's not doing really well, then you got to maybe change up the first shop before you go and build up the second one.
Understood. So on the mindset side, what is that mindset thing? Is it people who are fearless, people who understand how to take risk, or people, what is that trip switch that can be flipped?
I don't think that there's a single answer to that. I think everybody has a different ambition. Everybody is built differently on what they want, their goals in their life, right? But at the very least, if you want to scale, you're looking for somebody who is just ambitious at the end of the day, and they're there to get to their goals, whatever those goals may be. And you need people who are doers, and I think that's very important. And we talked about before.
Yep.
There's a lot of dreamers in this world, but there's not a lot of executors, right?
Absolutely.
And it just simply takes that time to just talking is one thing, thinking about it is that thing, and actually start doing, right? Taking your pen down or your computer, right? Creating a business plan, talking to all the different partners that's required to get this started, to test it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important. It's the doing aspect, which is incredibly hard to do, right? The thinking and dreaming is the easy part, but to actually
that's the fun bit,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Skills. What sort of skills helped you personally to scale up?
Ooh, skill sets.
Because you worked in finance before.
I was in management consulting before.
Okay.
I was a computer programmer before as well. But I think one of the best skill sets for almost anybody is communication, the ability to sell, sales skills. Because when it does, you're selling to everybody that you meet in a business. You're selling to your employees, you're selling to your customers, you're selling to your vendors, you're selling to your investors, you're selling to literally everybody. And when it does come to scaling, you need to have, again, like solid economics for your single location or where it is. And then not only that, you'll also need additional cash flow, right? You'll need additional investment to open up the second or third, whatever, or a different country especially. And that comes basically, money.
Yeah.
And how are you going to get money, right? If you're going to be talking to a bank, well, you got to sell yourself. You're not to get a loan. If you're going to bring on investors or partners, you got to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. So I think sales is paramount for any entrepreneur to become successful. The better you are at selling, just the more resources that will be on your hand to actually execute on all those ideas that you have.
Yeah. When you started, with a business and it started scaling, how did you stay level-headed and rational? Because so many things happen so fast. You took Foodpanda from literally a start and within a year, 500 employees. Yeah. That's massively realistic. I mean, that took me 10 years to get 500 employees.
Right.
But,
right. So I think to stay level-headed, there's always going to be the next challenge, right? So when you do get to that level where you have those massive employees, all those customers, things don't necessarily become easier. And it's just the next challenge to take on your head. So, just conquering one problem at a time. And at the same time, getting allies, partners, employees that can massively help you, achieve the next step or to help you scale, I think is paramount. Nobody can do it on your own, right? So it does take, this a great team, and understanding that the next step is just as challenging as the past steps before.
Absolutely.
Nothing ever gets easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The bigger the millions becomes, the bigger the problem.
Yeah.
So,
many more problems.
explain to us your concept and about working in your business and on your business. It's a very widely known concept from the book The E-Myth, but I still see it. Many people don't fully understand what's the difference between it.
Working in your business and working on your business. Explain to me that. It's the first time I've heard.
Okay. So because many people, like for instance, a restaurant owner, he works in his business. He takes the orders. He works in the kitchen because he's saving money instead of employing someone. But the concept is you shouldn't be working inside the business. You should be working on the business, meaning you should plan the next phases. You shouldn't be working in the current phase. That should be in the hands of other people. People you've drafted SOPs for your employees, your management. So you've got to work on the next one.
Right.
So to rephrase the question, how do you put your attention on what's coming next.
Right.
The next planning instead of focusing too much on the daily operations of the
Right.
current
That's
business.
a good question. I do think that, I think it's a combination of both. I do think that you need to focus in the business at the very beginning. You need to understand your business inside out. When I started Foodpanda, for the first year and a half, I was doing deliveries on my own. Right. We
Wow.
just, we're testing out the market. We didn't have enough delivery guys. We're growing too fast. You needed to understand what was the barriers of this whole delivery journey. Right. So it was literally lunchtime every day and nighttime after work. Everybody in the office became delivery drivers to understand the business. However, you can't, I would probably be considered the most expensive delivery boy in the world at that point of time. Right. And you can't do that forever, but you have to do that to a certain stage that until you fully understand the business very well.
Yeah.
After that, then it takes working on the business and understanding, what are the barriers, what are the obstacles, and how do you overcome that? And that requires you to work with your team in an office setting, and again, it's taking that time out of now, thinking about the business and thinking about what the next steps are. So when you don't have an office setting, let's say if you're talking about a burger joint, if you're constantly, in the kitchen, serving the customers all day long, and you're doing a 9 to 5 or 12 hours a day, you're going to be exhausted. It's going to be hard for you to think about the next steps. But if you do have that office environment with professionals, your allies, your team, your co-founder, whoever it may be, they start thinking about the other stuff of the business and taking a significant amount of time in your day, then you have a better chance of actually thinking about the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Just before we started this interview, you mentioned something that you feel it's not the best idea to go for scalable businesses right now or in the near future. Elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah. So the economy has changed. We're facing recession, job layoffs, and it's a pretty scary time, to be honest, for anybody, regardless if you're an employee or a business owner. And I think as a business owner, you have to be very cautious in today's environment. And there's two different types of business owners. There are ones who bootstrap, and there are ones who get, investments, right, funding. And I think for both of those types, you have to be very, very cautious on the direction you want to go. As a business owner who is bootstrapping, if you're going to be scaling too early and you're not ready for it, well, you're just going to lose more and more, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that, you are, you're very, very good in your current business and the execution before taking that next step. Consumer spending is going to be decreasing over the next couple of years. Now, as a venture-backed company such as ours, we're a bubble-tea business, but we do have significant amount of venture capital behind us. We're set in this trap, in this trap of, oh, well, we have lots of money in the bank. Why don't we just go ahead and build? And we could always get more venture funding in the future, even if we're not profitable, because that's generally speaking how venture capital works. Today's environment is very different. It's extremely hard to get funding right now for venture capitalists or angel investors. So you have to be extremely cautious on your expansion plans. So for both sides, even if you're venture backed, you have to make sure, again, the core business unit economics solid, and then let's take on the next steps, because money is no longer going to be as liquid or free as it was compared to a year ago. Right.
What would investors be looking for?
Oh, absolutely. Solid unit of economics. Unit economics is, how I define it as, depending on the industry that you're in. But in the restaurant industry, it's like, it's your restaurant making money, right? In the food delivery business, it would be on every single order, are you making money by sending out that order? You kind of take out the fixed costs of the business and you're just looking at the variable costs. So So I think that is what investors are looking for. They're looking for solid unit economics. They're looking for a business that can hit profitability at a much earlier age stage.
Yeah.
Back in the VC world, investors are looking for profitability in any of their investments. 7 years plus, 10 years plus time frame, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think it's different. They're looking to see, our business able to become profitable in a much, much shorter time range, less cash burn required,
Yeah.
right? Higher return on your investments on customers acquisition. So, I think it's vastly different today. There's not much capital being deployed. I still think that there are good deals. VCs still do have money to deploy.
Okay.
However, they're going to be very, very cautious on the startups or the companies that they're going to be investing in. It's no longer these big dreamers. It's going to be ones who are going to prove that they can make money. It's different.
Yeah. Well, listen, and remember, cash is king, huh? Keep as much cash as you can and make sure you've got a solid cash flow.
Absolutely.
Let's go to some of the practical things that you've learned and experienced through building large-scale businesses. Let's start with, what was sort of a very scary moment for you? Or what was scary for you when you were growing or scaling a business?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, every business is going to have a crazy roller coaster ride of return, right? There's lots of ups and lots of downs, and every business that I've been in have again had those ups and downs. And if we take Foodpanda as an example, yes, Foodpanda is doing tremendously well today, especially in the Taiwan market. But the first year and a half wasn't so rosy. It was very, very difficult, even though I had an advantage building this business because we were very well funded.
Yes.
And still proved to be very challenging. And the big challenge was for the Foodpanda business was trying to find that right product market fit, but at the same time getting lots of pressure from investors to scale. Once you bring on investors, you bring on a boss and they dictate where your business is going to be.
Yeah, that's into that. Huh?
So yes, I think that's very important for your entrepreneurs out there. Once you take on investors, you are no longer your own boss, essentially. So for Foodpanda was built to scale by the investors, to scale it very quickly. So my mandate coming into here to Taiwan was to scale the business right away. But what people don't know is that the first iteration of Foodpanda was nothing like what it was today.
Yeah.
The first iteration of Foodpanda didn't even have a delivery team. It was basically just a website where it listed all the restaurants. You order online, but the restaurants would deliver it at the end of the day. So basically, and the only restaurants that delivered back then in Taiwan are Panda, lunch boxes. Yeah. And like the McDonald's and the KFCs. So it's a very different business. The investors wanted us to scale this business model because they've seen it work in the UK and the US, and I was tasked to do that. And for I think almost a year we tried it and it just did not work. And we, spent the money, we hired the employees, we had hundreds of restaurants on the platform, but they're all Vietnam restaurants. And the product market fit wasn't there. So every single day, I was working on a business that I didn't think it was going to work. And it was scary times because every day you're faced because you're not getting targets of, well, maybe we should shut down the Taiwan market. Like every single week was maybe we should shut down the Taiwan market. And it was only until we tried, and this is what we call the pivot, right? You guys hear it all the time. You hear this MVP, right? So, one day when, I had enough of trying this business that wasn't working, I was like, let's just hire our first delivery guy on our own. Let's not tell the investors. Let's not tell global. We'll work with our first restaurant. And then that was an American restaurant. I think it was the Macho Tacos. That restaurant. We put them on the platform, and then what we realized, the orders started to come in, and we were delivering it ourselves.
Wow.
Okay, this is the moment. We just tried it very, very MVP. We hired like one delivery guy. We had one or two restaurants that were this American, Mexican type of joints, and we started getting the orders in. Nice. And then we scaled that, and we completely scaled, and everything turned from that day on. But before that, I think this is an important lesson to learn, is that, again, for almost a full year, we were operating without a market fit product. And we had lots of money to grow it and to invest in it. And we did.
Okay.
But once we actually did figure out, what was actually required for this market, which was basically a delivery service, a delivery team with restaurants that didn't have delivery before, that was when everything connected and we scaled massively from that point on.
Very interesting.
Right.
How did you or do you convince investors to put money in if you don't have a product that yet fits the market or you haven't really tested it?
So I think
especially when you're talking about the numbers that you're talking about.
Right. So I think again, being a good salesman, selling a dream, nothing comes easy. It definitely helps when you're talking to investors. Having the right network helps. So,
Absolutely.
and one of the advantages is that because, you're not talking about just Taiwan. Foodpanda at that point in time, after a year, might have been already been in maybe 20 or so countries. So, as an aggregate, the numbers didn't maybe look that poorly.
Yeah.
Right. And you're still selling this future, and the investors have been very, very successful investing in other types of companies such as Foodpanda, similar companies. So it's not easy. Again, it wouldn't work today.
Yep.
This is literally 12 years ago, 11 years ago. So it wouldn't work today. So this time around, you have to make sure you're doing things right, and you have to quickly pivot to see what's working and rescale that. You can't just be in the very fortunate position that we were with Panda back then in 2012, where we had the capital. We can keep on going even though the business wasn't doing too well. It wouldn't work today.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing all of that. So start wrapping up. What was your proudest moment in your business career thus far?
Proudest moment of my business career. Yeah, I think it was early on my entrepreneurial journey. So I'm going to use Foodpanda as a reference. It's when we were starting, I think by year number 3, we were really starting to do well at that point in time, growing massively. And one day I woke up and I got a screenshot, and it was somebody from my marketing team said that we've landed on the top 10 on the iStore, not just food delivery. It was basically Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Foodpanda. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, we're a top 10 download app throughout the whole country.
Wow.
That was a big moment because,
Respect.
being compared to those big guys out there, I just never would have thought. So that was one moment that, I'll always remember. And of course, there has been other types of accomplishments, but that early in my career, I thought that was quite
fantastic.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Right.
Wow, absolute respect, Ronald. Really appreciate you sharing all your advice and experience and information. I can carry on for hours and get a lot of valuable stuff out of you, but you're busy. And so what's next? Okay, so you've got your odd one out that you're taking to the States.
Yeah.
Give us a quick rundown on what that's going to be like.
So we are currently operating in LA in a market called Smorgasburg every single Sunday. And we are prepping for our first store in Sawtell locations. It's a little Japantown near UCLA, in LA. And I know we're talking about scalability over here, but we're also probably going to take on another location in LA at the same time.
Nice.
So it might be a little too early, especially after we had this talk, but we are looking, definitely having a store in Sawtell that's launching sometime in May or June, and then a second location that we might obtain, we'll know within this week, that will probably open up a little later this year. Might be a little early for that second location, but also a phenomenal opportunity in terms of location and the price range. So at the same time, you got to jump on good deals when you see good deal, right?
Yeah,
so we think it's a tremendous deal that we just need to jump on.
And in the long run, 5 years from now?
Hopefully, the whole goal of us setting this company, me and my co-founder Patrick, was we thought that there was an opportunity to kind of be the next Starbucks of the bubble tea world.
Okay.
Bubble tea, especially in the US, is a pretty fragmented market. And even in Taiwan, we have thousands of different competitors, brands out there. But if we talk about the coffee world, there's one Starbucks and the rest are small fries. And we're thinking that might be the opportunity for us in the US to be, that Starbucks of the bubble tea world.
Fantastic.
We have a superior product. We have a cool lifestyle brand behind us.
Yeah.
We have a great team, and hopefully we're going to scale to, if you asked me last year when I pitched to investors, I said hundreds of locations within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Now the economy has been different. We got to move a little more cautiously. But in the next 5 years, we have a few dozen stores, maybe across different states, and I think that'll be a pretty nice goal.
Super exciting. Thank you so much once again, Ron. I really appreciate and value your time, and thank you for sharing your experience and everything. So, folks, do come and check out Odd One out here. We will put the link in the description above. So come and check it out. Absolutely premium and amazing bubble teas of all flavors, and even got alcoholic ones there.
Yeah, we have alcoholic teas as well. It's available all day. It's delicious and really good price as well.
There you go. So don't miss out on it, especially springtime is out, so perfect time for a bubble tea. So thank you so much, Ron. Really appreciate it. Wishing you all the success for your future. For the future business now, and may you scale America very fast.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. Stay tuned. Take care. Bye.